feedback is a gift. A gift we give the other person with the purpose of developing our relationship and the other person. If we give it with any other purpose, it's not really feedback, it's more about strengthening our own position or showing how competent we are or whatever it is. There's this story that I really enjoy about an African tribe. And in this African tribe, the harshest punishment for a crime committed is not jail, it's not death sentences, it's instead that this person is sentenced to staying in the village, living in the village, but nobody will look at you, nobody will talk to you, no one will even pretend that you exist. What tends to happen to these people after a while, in the lack of human acknowledgement, they start to get sick and some even die. And I think it is that way with feedback also. Feedback is, someone said, the most intense form of communication that we humans use. And it is a way of acknowledging, I see you. So, in many times in workplaces, in relationships, we forget to see each other by giving each other feedback. There are 3 pointers for giving feedback that I think are really key. Is your feedback necessary? Is it thought through? And is it loving? If you stick with those 3 pointers or those 3 guidelines for feedback, it's really hard to fail. Is this feedback really necessary? Have I thought it through? And is it loving? There's this quote I would like to share with you. I keep failing to memorize it, so I'm going to read it to you from my notes, but I think it's well worth sharing. It is from a book, Dr. Glass, by Hjalmar Söderberg. It says, we want to be loved. Failing that, admired. Failing that, feared. Failing that, hated and despised. At all costs, we want to stir up some sort of feeling in others. Our soul abhors the vacuum. At all costs, it longs for contact. It sort of goes with that African tribe story again about knowing that we stir some sort of feeling in others. And that is also what we can share with feedback, our inner emotion or experience when someone else does something. So feedback is not about judging, it's not saying this is good or this is bad, it's observing. And that is a practice in itself, observing without judging, and then sharing, when you do this, how do I feel, what do I experience when you drive that fast, when you talk to me that way, when you're late for our meeting, whatever it is. Sharing that feedback will be sort of a receipt to the other person that they evoke some sort of feeling in me. One excellent way of giving feedback is to use I statements. And I statements not in like the eyes that I see with, but I as a person. I use I instead of you. That is one trick to feedback, is using the word I more, starting from myself, taking responsibility for my experience. So observing a behavior, sharing how I feel or react when I see or experience that behavior, and then why is that? What is important to me? Like if a person is driving fast, I'm riding with them, I would say the observation would be, when you drive 60 miles per hour in that 90-degree turn, I feel scared. Because it's important for me to be considerate to other people and drive in a safe way. So then I have the need, and then I can also add a request saying, I would much prefer it if you would slow down to 20 miles per hour. That would make me feel more comfortable riding with you. So observe, describe what you see or hear, and add a feeling, add a need. Why is this important to me? Why do I feel this way? And a request for a different behavior. Of course, if it's something that makes you happy. When you say hi to me in the morning, I feel great, I feel happy, because it's important to me to greet each other. So I really appreciate that, and you don't necessarily need to add the request. On the other part, that's giving the feedback. So there's giving, but there's also receiving. You can do a lot with the receiving part. And we can use the feedback staircase to illustrate that there can be 4 different main responses to getting feedback. And maybe you've experienced these yourself. At the first level, we deny the feedback. We sort of just walk away. The second part is defend. That's not true. That's not how it was. You don't, no, that's not true. That's not right. The third step would be explain. Well, I was driving so fast because we were in a hurry to get there or there. We start explaining. And the fourth level being understanding. Taking the time to ask questions, focus on the other person and truly listen to the feedback. And this is our initial response. Sometimes, of course, we look like we deny something, but then it sort of kind of runs in the back of our heads for 2 weeks. And then we sort of realize, oh, that's what he or she meant. She probably had a point there. So it's about this initial response, and the initial response you give when you get feedback will of course determine in many ways how much more feedback you will get in the future. Because how fun is it giving feedback to someone who just sort of slams the door and doesn't show an interest in receiving the feedback and understanding it. So give more gifts, give more feedback, and watch in amazement to how it will improve your relationship if you stay with the 3 pointers. Is this necessary? Is it thought through? And is it loving?